Nikon sent the RevoSim RS Pure Pack for review, and as always, I say what I want. They have no input or see the review video beforehand. This is their first time into the sim racing sphere, and I must say it's a really good first attempt, except in one thing that is super important, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. The PR costs £699 or $799 or euros for this whole bundle that comes with the 90mm wheelbase, a 300mm wheel, a 100 kilo load cell pedal set. Separately, the base is £459, the wheel will be $169, and the load cell pedal set will be $129. In the future, there'll be a shifter, also a clutch, and a handbrake. And this is also important, this is PC only, no Xbox compatibility at the moment or no PlayStation compatibility. Nikon did a lot of homework to put this bundle together. And I do mean a lot of homework. The unboxing is pretty painless, even though the box weighs literally 24 kilos. It comes well packaged, everything is tidy to say the least. It's also quite tidy to press like and subscribe, and if you're listening to this over Spotify, leave me a follow and a 5-star review. It's by checking the equipment out that you see where they put a lot of work on, figuring out what works in other equipment, and then giving it their own spin on things. So the wheelbase is a love child between a Fanatec Club Sport ED and the Mozza R9 or R12. It's a rather large aluminum body, plastic fronts and rear. Its size, it's around the same as the Club Sport ED for all that passive cooling goodness. It's mounted the same way as the Club Sport DD and CSL DD as well. So you have thread these nuts, slide the wheelbase in, and then tighten everything together. Can even be side mounted in the same way. Painless, it's good, 10 out of 10. The same with the quick release. It is an NRG D-Spec type, the same as Mozza and Simagic. There's a 21-bit encoder as well with the motor that feels not to have a lot of cogging on a 9mm wheelbase. It feels almost like a Simagic type of cogging, which is for the Evo, which is not that much. It doesn't get to be that uncogged, but it's not too far away. At the back, all the connections and buttons, a USB-C, 3 RJ types for pedals and future shifter and handbrake, as well as power and Bluetooth for the app. It also comes with a desk mount and something really gimmicky, a phone holder if you want to use that. The pedals are reminiscent from the CSL pedals or Mozza SRP. They're easy to assemble. 100 kilos load cell, actually studied construction, though the mounting point at the load cell is hidden, so there's going to be a little bit of disassembling first. That needs to be done. There's even extra elastomers in the box. That way, this is ready to use over the floor, or you can do basically what you want with it. There is quite a lot of adjustability, pedal tilt, pedal faces position, travel, side to side on the pedal plate. For what it is, which is a very simplistic design, they actually made it quite sturdy, though here they actually pick up one of the Fanatec worst vices for this types of pedals, or for most of their pedals nowadays, which is basically putting the RJ connection or the USB connection below the plate. So that means you have to get the cable out and install it prior to install the pedal into your wheel rig or base or whatever. So we have this here now, the wheel. This is a 6x70 wheel. In reality, this is more of a hub than a wheel. You have the buttons at the front. It will be there'll be 12 in total. You have a 7-way funky switch, and then you also have this dial. And this dial also changes profiles. When you press it, long press it, there's up to 4 profiles that you can have on this wheel. You can use this on the fly, and then you also have the telemetry. You have the quick release at the back, and then a couple of shifters. Even though this is 6x70, it won't be really compatible with most wheels because, well, there's this button at the front over here, and then these cutouts. That basically means you're going to be very limited if you want to use something different here. Everything is well built, it's well thought of, it's well put together, the price isn't that bad, so what's the catch? So come closer. The wheelbase only works with their wheel. Big rant. Not only they copied the best of every single brand, so the best of Fanatec, Mozza, a bit of Simagic are in there, so, you know, good things that I was mentioning about, but also they copied the worst thing about the Fanatec design, which is their closed ecosystem. But in that case, I can use a sort of an emulator to go around it, and it cost me 25 quid. But in this case, I can't do that, really. I've reached out to Nakon over this, and they said currently no other wheel is compatible for now with the base. It's something Nakon is looking at for the midterm or long term, but as of yet, there is no definite date. In summary, Nakon is looking to expand their ecosystem with add-ons, different wheels, rims, which all be compatible with each other. Disappointing, and basically it kind of gives me the idea they want to build a closed ecosystem, and I will also say this is a mistake. Software time, it's called RevoSim Racing Wheel. Good name. Now, it needs to be on in order to work with the telemetry with the 3 games that are supported at the moment. There's also an app to change the settings if you want to use it on Android or iPhone. It's a fairly straightforward app, a mix between Ace Attack Race Hub and Simagic Sim Pro, with the ease of use of the Fanatec app. Once again, they picked up the best of everything and they made something together that actually, feels nice to use and feels well thought of. There's not a lot to change on the wheelbase in terms of options, but the bases are there: power, effects, dampening, filtering. There's even some profiles that are able to be swapped via the wheel with the rotary button. For the pedals, I would recommend that you calibrate the pedals, the throttle, and the load cell, but especially the load cell, so you have the full range if it's not configured from the factory. This way, if you need to, you can reduce the load cell sensitivity on a software. Let's go for the driving experience. As a whole, I can't really complain about this pack. Everything works together and works together really nicely, all things considered. It feels super fast for a wheelbase of this caliber, even if it doesn't feel as strong as some of the wheelbases out there, even at max power. It's plenty strong enough, and I would say the sustained levels of torques are just a little bit below than the 9 Newton meters they say it has. As for the experience with it, well, it is positive, but it does feel it lacks some of the presence of the more established counterparts. It provides a good deal of detail in Assetto Corsa, a positive experience, the same in Le Mans Ultimate and iRacing. But in all of these 3, comparatively with the other bases of the same class, it feels like that the tire effects, curbing, understeering, and oversteering feel is really not as present. Without any dampening and friction, it also makes the steering kind of vague sometimes. In Assetto Corsa Competizione, it felt like one of the best in class. It had great detail, a good sense of weight of the car without being overly dampened. That means the wheelbase in general has the potential and the main blocker for a more consistent driving experience with all of these titles with sports cars is probably more related to the firmware and software, because it's really not as polished as it needs to be. But it doesn't mean that it can't improve. I tried a bit of rally, it's really not my main thing. EA WRC had no force feedback, I couldn't find a way to make it work. It's not the first wheelbase with this issue in this game though. And Dirt Rally was actually a decent experience. So I think this wheelbase is actually a good all-rounder. Which leads me to the pedals. I would think that they would lack the polish because they look really that basic. However, that is not the case at all. Pedals are only as good as the brake, which in this case is a load cell. And I must say that the blue elastomer stack that comes already in the pack is really bad if you want to have an experience in your sim rig. As they come, they are set up for the floor, but you have the options for more elastomers and you have options for tilting and all of that, and you can mix and match the elastomer stack. Changing the elastomers or mixing more elastomers, whatever the colors may be, it makes the brake feel rather good for the price. It was really the biggest surprise here. I think Nakon has really chosen a good mix of elastomer rigidness. The reds don't have a lot of progression. Good if you want to have, a pedal that is really tight. Or the blues have too much and the yellows just right for most people. But mixing and matching these will definitely allow a rigid pedal with stages for trail braking if you want. I really can't complain about these pedals, which for the case of a bundle set, it's really good news. So that leaves me with the wheel or hub. This is the weakest link at the standalone price. It isn't bad per se. It does have good parts. It's a comfortable wheel. Ergonomics for the button box are actually decent. The buttons have just an okay click. The shifters could be better, but they aren't tragic. And the LEDs have quite a nice light and quite a nice diffusion. The rotary dial is a bit loose, the funky switch is nice, but this is the only wheel being available at the moment for this wheelbase, and most of the times it won't have telemetry at all, so a lot of the feature, and one of the features that they say this wheelbase or back or wheel will have, it's really not present there. I've talked about all of this, and I actually generally talked in very positive terms, and this leads me to my conclusion. The RevoSim Pure RS is actually a good product. It's not a half-assed job, not at all. You know, everything is well thought of. It's a decently constructed wheelbase, actually very well constructed. Connections, very well thought of. Secure quick release. The pedal set is actually pretty good. I was incredibly impressed by it. The force feedback is pretty good. And you can see from Assetto Corsa Competizione that this wheelbase actually has a good potential. So it's basically software and firmware that needs to be tweaked. So in sum, I would say this. If you are looking for something that is basically fire and forget, you buy it once and you don't care much about it, and you want something that is actually clean and a clean experience, you know, everything was well put together, well thought of, and everything feels nice, this is actually a decent choice because it's not too overly expensive, and from A to Z, this wheelbase and wheel and pedals actually are decent quality, even though the telemetry isn't working quite at the moment, but it sure in the future will be updated. However, considering this channel and considering a lot of people in sim racing, what you're gonna get on this package by itself, especially with the wheel, and it's probably not gonna be enough for you. You're gonna be like Ariel. I want more. And in that case, I would definitely say hard pass. It is really not an alternative to Fanatec, Simagic, or Mozza. There's no ecosystem out of this yet, and I don't think it's going to be as expensive as you could have with the other bases. It may change in the future if they feel like, oh, we could probably bring more people over if we open this up, but there's really no indication out of it. And yeah, hard pass for me.